Well, welcome, Mary. It's great to have you on. Welcome to Enablement Uncanned for the first time. How are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you, Jack?
Very jealous that you're sat in Tampa, as you know, my favorite place on earth. Yeah, very jealous of that. But Mary, you are super duper sales enablement manager over at Edge, and you're moving into, is it revenue ops, revenue operations manager, or is the developing into that role, right?
Right. Yeah. So definitely developing into revenue enablement just to make sure that we don't get put into a corner, right? No one
Mhm.
likes to put baby into a corner with sales enablement with the name sales because we do a lot with other departments.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that might be a lot of the issue that we have in Europe. We were just talking offline before the guests wonder what we're talking about. Um, that's one of the biggest issues you have in Europe is that it's called sales enablement, which is always quite siloed, right? Just focusing on salespeople, when actually it's a much wider task.
Mhm.
Yeah, give the listeners a bit of an overview as to who you are, your role, a little bit about Edge. It'd be really good to sort of hear that and understand a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Greatly appreciate it. I'm Mary Dildy. I've been in sales enablement for about 5 or 6 years now. Started out as a salesperson, moved my way up to support and then facilitator, and then finally into the management role. I love it. It's truly a passion. There's a lot that goes into it. No day is the same. Yeah, there's just a lot there. I work for a company named Edge, and I love them because our mission is income equality. And this isn't changing the world in one day, but slowly over time, it's giving respect to the hospitality workers, which I do feel dearly for, because I was one of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about me and Edge.
Amazing.
Anything else?
No, that's spot on. It's exactly right. And no, thank you for that. And welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you on because it's I'm trying to broaden the horizons out to the Floridians in the world, as you know. I appreciate you're not originally from there, but we'll pretend you are for the sake of that comment. And the title of today, so we're going to be going into something that I've never really heard of as a word, made up word, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to be looking at edutainment, so which is the blend of education in enablement, but also being entertained while doing so, right? And
Yes.
I'll whisper it, right, because uh, education isn't entertaining sometimes, or a lot of the time. Um, unless it's been delivered by someone like yourself, Mary, that can actually go down the road of making it entertaining. So
Wow, education's not entertaining. That's a hot topic. I'm gonna have to have you on my podcast now.
there you go. There you
Just
go.
kidding.
It's stuff I've done in the past. You know what it's like. And for those of you that were on the webinar last night, I know you were one, Mary. I think 84% of uh, training is forgotten in the first few months, right? Which is crazy when you think about it, because that's a lot of time invested in creating something that doesn't really go anywhere. Um, so give us your bold, most uncanned take on this. And I know you've been looking forward to this one. I know you've said a couple that you might throw in here. Um, but go on, give us something spicy to kick it off.
Yeah, so fun is definitely something that is shunned upon almost whenever it comes to training and development. But I certainly believe that fun is definitely the delivery method and the methodology behind it, not necessarily the whole purpose of it. So everything that you do, even if it is fun, has to have an element to it. And
Hmm.
then what we're trying to develop is not necessarily one offs, but almost like a series. So whenever you think of your favorite TV show, do you watch just one episode or do you binge them?
Mm. Yeah, no,
Right.
I
So,
binge them typically.
right. So we're just trying to make people want the next episode whenever it comes to training and development and sales enablement.
That's a really interesting way of putting it. And we were talking about TV episodes before we came on, right? Downton Abbey. Obviously, the Americans do like a bit of Downton and all this kind of stuff. Not that I've ever been a big fan of it, but Yeah, so I mean, how do you go about doing that? Because I'm not saying here at Bigtincan, because at Bigtincan the training's great, right? And I'm not just saying that because I'm on the podcast. But before, it's always been at other places I've worked. It's always been how quickly can I get to the end of this training, right?
Always.
And I guess you said there it's like a good Netflix series. So how do you, I guess, blend fun with learning, and what's your way of doing that?
Jack, I'm going to say something that might be a little odd here, but
Mm.
communication
Okay.
is the key here. So everything that we're doing, tie it back to a KPI that someone's going to be held accountable. We're all adults. We do not need to treat each other like we are children. We never start over from zero, which I do believe that we do a lot of because we're all starting over with a lot of experience. So
Mm.
using that experience will just already tinker engagement from the very beginning.
That's such a good point. And you're right. Well, I say we're never starting from zero, but in sales, you're always on zero. Every
Doesn't
month,
it feel that way?
every month, every week, every month, you're always on zero. So you're big on your experiences, right? Because you haven't just been in enablement, you haven't just been in sales, you've done teaching, which is kind of relating to a lot of this, and you've traveled quite a bit. Obviously, you've got a lot of big what's the word? Cultural experience. Um, how do you think that shaped your approach to enablement and engagement as a whole? Because I guess it has the way you've kind of seen
Yes.
seen the world, right? Yeah.
Yeah, in tons of different ways. So the content that we're maybe trying to teach is the same, but the wrapper that you wrap it in is just different for whatever cultural, and it can be also just day by day. We do it often a lot of cookie cutter. There's a lot of things that we can look out for, especially culturally. One thing that I did learn that maybe in like the China, Japan area while I was over there, it's very much an internal like self-reflection. Here in North America, we are very much, we love leaderboards, competition. It's just different cultural ways for that engagement again. Because happy customers, happy employees, that's what we're going for here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you want to be engaged. I kind of want to be in
Mhm.
one of your sessions already, and I don't even know what it would entail. Um,
Please come.
get you in to do some of the training, Mary. I think it's probably a good shout. How do you start your training sessions then? What's the first
Ah,
thing that
I
you would
love
do? Go on.
I send out a survey. I want to know how people want to be recognized, and then vary day by day, right? Some days I'm shy, some days I'm very outgoing. It just depends.
Yeah.
Also, the weather can dictate everything for me. So, taking a quick poll, seeing how we want to do things, gets their buy-in before you even start the class.
That's a great point because there's no point trying to deliver something that won't speak to the masses, right? Um, and weather, right? We try and avoid the weather. This is why I don't want to live here anymore. Because even though we are in the midst of summer and it's blindingly warm here in this country, if I look out the window, everything is grey. Still, everything. The trees,
To
the sky, the road, everything's grey.
to be fair, it's hurricane season in Florida, and it looks the exact same way outside.
Well, there you go. But you are in Florida, so there's a big difference. But that's such a good point, right? Having a little survey going out because it does. Some days you do feel different, and seasonal depression or seasonal variances is a real thing, and taking that into consideration when you're delivering these things. So what? Let's say, for example, then I'm going to put you on the spot here. Someone says they're feeling fruity, they're feeling super excited about the day. How would you kick that one off?
Oh, I love those. So leaderboards are one of my favorite ways to do things just because that invokes the most competition.
Hmm.
But that's also a very testy one just because I know that some people may not like it. But if the whole group is into it, then we're going to do something like that. We'll do groups. I may make that person a leader of some group in case the others in the class were feeling very shy, but that person's very outgoing. Make them a leader of a group. So then that way they're the person talking, the person get initiating. So yeah, just using them almost like
Mm,
we would do in sales.
yeah. And I'm going to ask you another question off the back of what you've just said there, because it's been a big topic on Enablement Uncanned over the last few weeks. Do you need sales experience to be a good enabler?
I don't know that answer. You're putting me on the spot with that
I
one.
know.
I will say that it certainly helps because you get the buy-in from other sales reps that you're training because sales is really tough. We were talking before this and how the highs are really high, the lows are always low, and they're always consistent, and they're a lot more than the highs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what that answer is? I've heard a lot of it, and I know I put you on the spot there, so apologies for that. But it's definitely been a big topic, particularly in Europe over the last few weeks, because you don't necessarily need it, but you do need that flair and understanding of the team around you, right? Because if you've got no idea how the team around you are performing or what they're like, then you're going to struggle to actually empathize with them and help them along that road. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, you're spot on. But there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer on this podcast, as you know. So that's all good. Um,
Like a Reese's.
exactly. There's no wrong one. So you mentioned to me before we jumped on that you do, or at least you like a bit of humor. As I've done musical theatre before, right? We're both performers in some sort of way. Give me some of your real world situations, and I'm sure you've got some. Hopefully prepared. If not, no worries. Where humor and creativity or stand up, whatever you want to call it, has broken through that resistance and got better results than you were ever imagining. I'm guessing that's something that you could talk to.
Absolutely. Just to let everybody know, I perform terrible stand-up comedy and improv on the side, so that's what he was meaning. Uh, not for money, just for therapy. But so humor is something that I do bring into the classroom. It is a huge part of like who, what, when, where like everything that I am. So one way that I did do this was Salesforce. Teaching Salesforce is so difficult, especially if someone's never used it before and it's a brand new CRM to them. So I took everything in each step and almost turned it into a dating game.
Oh
So
wow.
again, yeah, so like just
Okay.
because I see a lead from across the floor over here does not mean I get to call dibs just yet. You know what does? Good activity. So just bringing it back to real world, not only situations, but just making light of it as well. Uh, I have never seen such adoption of Salesforce, right? It was such a cool experience to see that happen.
That's such a good point. Again, you're turning Salesforce, which we use Salesforce. It is, I mean, it's a CRM, right? It's not fun. What is there fun about a CRM? There isn't. And you've turned it into Tinder, basically, which is, we, it's okay. We won't rebrand it or anything. But yeah, no, you're right. That's amazing, and you obviously got some good results from that, which is cool. Have you ever had anyone kind of go against what you do?
Oh, absolutely, all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I fail way more than I succeed, but
That's
that's how I
sales.
learn.
Yeah,
That's exactly.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
one time I had kids, whenever I was a teacher, and it was really rainy outside, and I was thinking, "Oh, well, these kids are gonna have a lot of pent-up energy." So I bring them in, we're having a great time, and then I realized no one has any energy. But I had a physical activity. Long story short, it ended up to just being myself sweating, doing the entire activity myself while 20 children looked at me. And do you think adults are judgmental? Wait till you have 5 and 6 year olds.
Kids, kids will always tell you the most honest thing. They'll always be honest, whether you're overweight, whether you're not. I'm talking about my own kids here, right? They'll always say exactly what they mean, which is a good thing because it's kind of innocent.
Mm.
But it can also lead to some difficult situations. What was the activity?
Yeah. What did you say?
What was the activity? What were you running
Oh,
around forever or?
yeah. So we were actually trying to learn like the past tense of words. And so I was literally darting back and forth whenever I was calling out the past tense words, hoping that I would get someone to tag along or to follow me. But unfortunately, I was not influential enough.
Tough though, isn't it? It is tough. Fair play to you though. Like it's such a of all the enablers I've spoken to and of all the the teams that I've spoken to, I've not heard someone be so passionate, as passionate as you around bringing. I get it. Enablement, it needs to be fun. It needs to be fun. Training in general needs to be fun, right? Um, and I don't know if you've ever had any sort of not bad experiences, but kickback from senior leaders as well. I'm guessing that's come into it because breaking down, I guess, breaking down the barriers to engagement and stuff like that, right? Because learners and senior leaders can disengage from either
Mhm.
your ideas, and training does feel like a chore sometimes, right? Or it can feel like a chore, which is what we do a lot of in terms of where what we sell. We can kind of manipulate how someone does their training, so they have to do it. Whereas if I'm assuming breaking down those barriers on your end has been a real battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially whenever you tell them that you want to play games inside of a classroom, they may think that you're wasting everybody's time. But as long as I have a metric that I'm tying it back to, and then I'm
Yeah.
actually scaling that metric, I'm looking to see, is it working? Is it not working? It could, again, like it may not work. And then I'm just going to take that out completely. I'm consistently readjusting to make sure that we're keeping up with everyone, making sure that it is scalable. Um, so whenever you do have that information, again, you have to build that information up. That actually comes back and helps me with understanding that's not just a game. It's not like there's a KPI and a metric and a behavior that we're going for, and we're going to use
Hmm.
that within 7 days of right now. And then we're going to judge it. And then if it works, we're going to keep doing it and scaling it. If it doesn't work, get it out of there.
Yeah, exactly. The same as anything, right? Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, as they say, right? So yeah, get it out if it doesn't work. How difficult have you found it then to actually tell your boss or the senior leaders that and actually paint that picture to them, although you're tying it back to a metric, because this is one of the biggest topics we've ever come across is getting a seat at the table or proving, I'm not saying you've got to prove yourself, but proving enablement's worth, because that is a very, very difficult thing. I'm in Europe specifically, and I'm assuming similar in North America. Don't let me put words into your mouth. But actually proving enablement seat at the table is actually such a difficult thing to do. So are you finding that difficult as well? Is that something that enablers as a whole you think struggle with?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people struggle with understanding what enablement is, what it does, where is our actual place. Again, with a name like sales enablement, you think that you're strictly for the sales team, but that's not
Mm,
true. We're looking at revenue, like revenue is our biggest goal for enablement. And then how we get there is the fun analytical part that we get to play around with. So it's really tough, especially proving it, especially if you haven't had any of the numbers yet, if you're new or if you're fresh at it, it's really tough. But as long as, again, you have that metric behind it and you can scale it, and you have something there and it's absolutely worth it. And I wouldn't back down from that.
yeah, no, good for you. And I guess it's a cultural thing. You've got to be in the right team environment to do it because if I'm assuming, and I was speaking to someone else about this the other week, if you're not in the right environment or a team doesn't, or a senior leader or whatever doesn't actually support that or understand it, it might work somewhere else. It
Right.
might just be the environment that you're in, which I guess is all about the different cultural expectations that you have, right?
Mhm.
So,
That's exactly.
and it doesn't cost a lot what you're doing. Really, does it? To add a bit of fun and
No,
a bit of color to this, and this is another thing. You haven't got to pay a lot of money to get massive incentives or fly people anywhere to do this. You can simply make it quite low cost and effective, right?
absolutely. It's low cost, it's effective. It's also something that can, if you're doing onboarding at the time, buy you a little bit of time because we were speaking about this earlier. Every day is a performance and you need a break. Some of this stuff, it can even provide a little bit of a break and putting the responsibility back on the learner and the employee. Or before we were just basically talking at them.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than that. And I can think of a good example from my end as well. I mean, we typically have an SKO every year, so sales kickoff. I think last year it was actually renamed revenue kickoff, believe it or not. Moving away from the sales. And yeah, like, there's a lot of slides, there's a lot of information, but there was one point that was the best part for me, and it was a virtual reality quiz hunt round the room, right? And it didn't really take much lift because it's something that we provide ourselves. It's an internal team that could create it. So didn't cost anything necessarily. It just costs, I guess, a bit of time. But that stuck in my head more than anything else, right? Because it got me off the seat, it got me moving around, and it was more fun. And I'm not just saying that. So I guess a lot of people are missing the trick here. There's a lot of people that are doing training in the old school way. And even now, I speak to colleagues or I speak to people that work in similar industries, and they turn their nose up at training. Oh no, I've got to
Mhm.
do this training. Well, you put it off, you put it off, you put it off. So keep it up, I guess. Keep it up.
Yeah. Where do you think the biggest ROI gap here would be? Training that no one does or training that people are excited about?
Yeah, probably the former. Um, because I guess if you've got no way to track exactly what training people are doing and understand how well that's affecting, that's going to be the biggest impact. Um, But I guess it comes down to how you control your training. I mean, are you doing all of yours live, or is there some offline stuff as well?
Oh, absolutely. Not
Mm,
only that, there's always going to be some kind of quiz or follow-up, something to go along with it, like a Kahoot.
yeah.
That is a little bit of a lift, but if you were doing it live, there's a lot of questionnaires that's built into both Zoom and Google Meet. There's also surveys, there's a lot of reactions, like just setting those expectations of, hey, this is an environment that you're involved and you can do that not only just live, but also you can do that via whatever LMS you're using, or even emails, quick meetings, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't take a lot of lift, even like Kahoot, right? I remember once going to so we do like a lot of workshops with sales teams to kind of get adoption as they buy something like a Bigtincan, and I remember going there once, and they had Kahoot quizzes throughout the entire day just to break it up, and some of them weren't even relevant to what we were talking about.
Right.
Right? Just to really kind of break down their barriers and get people to take a step back a little bit. Um, because yeah, we are all we can't take everything in all at once. We've got to
No,
break
it's
it down.
look, learning is serious business, but how we get to the end point, we got to be a little bit flexible there, right? Just like with anything. And I think that making it fun, breaking it up, having engagement, and having each person have a best friend at work, making sure that everyone's just engaged with one another is really awesome and the
Hmm.
best way to do that.
I think the best thing that you've said so far is the one size doesn't fit all, right? With this kind of thing, sending out them surveys and actually getting to know each and every single person, because you can't blanket it the same every time. It's just not going to work. Um, so of the people that are listening, because we have a lot of enablers listening to this, and I know a lot of people. I won't give them the shout outs because they'll know who they are. They most certainly will want to hear some advice, right? What are the takeaways that you would give to an organization that's maybe, I don't want to say struggling, but like kind of stuck with mundane training, and some ideas that you may say, okay, where could we start? How could we then grow that and get people a bit more engaged? What would you start with?
I would first start with, why are you listening to me?
Hmm.
Second, just kidding. So
Why
take
are
a
you
look at
listening?
what, yeah, not me. But take a look at like what's actually happening and what's going on. A big one that I see would be cameras off. right? So how do you get people to have like engagement whenever their cameras are off? Of course, you can say, turn your cameras on. That's something, we always hear that. But what about if you just make things anonymous so then you can see how much of the class is actually participating versus each and every person? Because again, we're adult learners, we're not children. And even
Mm.
children, I would show respect for. So we all have lives going on in the back. So as long as we're participating, we're getting things in, like having just respect in general.
How do you make it anonymous on like a Zoom or a Teams? Genuinely curious now. Because the cameras off thing is a great thing. And I'm going to flip this to sales again. Shouldn't do, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because when I'm on a call or a demo or a call with someone important, like a senior stakeholder in a business that I'm trying to actually sell to, if they haven't got their camera on, I'm immediately disappointed.
Mhm.
Right? And you know this because you've been in sales, like direct negotiations, because you can read a lot from somebody, even not as much as you were if you were in a room together, for sure. Um, but if you're looking at somebody on the camera, you know if they're looking at you, you know if they're engaged more than Budge's cameras off. Um, so I imagine that's the same for a trainer. So what would you say to someone that, how would you go about doing that anonymously then? Rather than just saying, make sure your cameras are on.
Yeah, so anonymous, just having questions throughout the
Right,
actual
okay.
time. You can, yeah, so just having that just to see it actually engaged. And if we're not engaged, then we have to go a different route, right? We need to start finding who is engaged and having them be team leader. And if I'm being completely honest, this is where I start to use my humor if cameras are off. And I say that maybe they're doing something in the bathroom, and I'm like, well, suddenly all the cameras would turn on. And it's like, hey guys, it's natural.
Yeah,
But
amazing. Yeah, amazing. See, this is why. This is why you should. Hey, that's great because it would. People would then be. They'd switch on, right?
Mhm.
It's just having that little bit of performance, that little bit of relaxation when you're doing it. That's great. No, I really appreciate it, and people need to learn from you, Mary. That's what it is. People need to learn from you.
I appreciate you, Jack.
Is there before we wrap up, is there anything? And I know I asked you this before we came on, right? Is there anything that you want to big up while you're here? Not necessarily about Edge, but anything that you think, yeah, okay, I can, a shameless plug, as I like to call them. Maybe any books, any articles, any people that you follow, anyone that may give you inspiration. You don't have to. You don't have to at all. If not, I'm just going to plaster your LinkedIn up everywhere so everyone can follow you and see you and make sure that they pay attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, no, please add me on LinkedIn. I would love that. I love talking enablement. I'm very passionate about it. Again, this is something that I tried many different jobs and I did find my home in enablement. So if anyone has any advice for myself as well, add me and tell me that advice.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been wonderful, and I'm going to make sure we take some of this away and do some little bite-sized chunks off of this because there's some really good stuff in here. And hey, if people are struggling with their training, make sure we reach out to Mary because she's at least gonna make it fun. Maybe finish off with a. I was gonna put you on the spot and give you a one-liner. Have you got any one-liners you wanna throw out there, seeing as though you're a bit of a humor king?
Oh, I love this joke. So everyone always comes up to me and it's like, "Oh, you're a comedian. Tell me a joke." I love this. So Jack, let's do a knock knock joke, but you start.
Okay. Knock knock.
Who's there?
I've got no idea. That's good. That's good. That's good. See, you completely flipped the script.
Exactly.
That would get cameras turned on. There you
That's
go.
what we're after.
Alrighty, thank you, Mary. You've been superb. And thanks everyone for listening again. It's been great to record another one. And yeah, this has been Enablement Uncanned. Thanks everyone.